Hey there, beautiful people. This is Green Mountain Mornings on 100.3 FM, AM 1490. I am your host, Olga Peters. 20 minutes past the top of the hour, and I have in the studio with me Chris Mays from The Reformer. How are you, Chris?
I'm good. How about you?
Doing pretty good. Third, fourth cup of coffee.
Oh yeah.
Local news. Great guess. What could be better?
I don't
Actually, I
know.
know what could be better. Nolan from BCTV is here filming this segment of Green Mountain Mornings, and broadcast of Green Mountain Mornings tonight on BCTV is sponsored by Brattleboro Savings and Loan. So, Honora, the winery over that's based in Jacksonville, is opening a new tasting room in Dover.
Yeah. They also have Jayville Craft Brewery. It
Oh, right.
it's a newer program they have, I guess you would say. So and they have their a vineyard in West Halifax.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have this tasting room in Jacksonville, but now they've introduced a new tasting room in West Dover. And it's right on the Route 100 corridor, right next to the Valley View Saloon. And so they're hoping to get some traffic from the ski resort at Mount Snow and also from the saloon when it's busy.
Mm-hmm.
And they fixed up this little section of the building, same building that the saloon is in. Not major, just new floors, and they put a bar in, and they're gonna offer cheese, wine, and beer.
Okay.
Yeah, and so they're excited to get started there. Yeah.
When do the doors open?
Oh, they're open already.
They're open and ready to go.
Yeah, they opened last month. I couldn't make it to the grand opening because I was at a wedding, unfortunately. Well, it was a
Not
good time,
unfortunately, but
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and so I talked to the economic development director in town,
Mm-hmm.
and he's just as excited as they are to welcome a new business. It's always nice to get new businesses in town.
Yeah.
And they don't have as much vacant space as some of the neighboring communities, but it's still a big feat for them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's particularly encouraging as the town they started this process. I think I talked about this with you before. They set up work groups.
Yes.
Yeah, so they're looking at all these economic development initiatives and plans, and they're going to put it all together in a comprehensive plan for to cover the next 10 years or so.
I'm looking forward to that plan. I'm really curious to see what the residents and the specialists will put together.
Yeah, it's very ambitious. It's so this tonight they're having a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'm going to attend it. I think they're just kind of assembling the work groups.
Yeah, I saw the agenda, and yeah, it does look like a planning kind of meeting.
Yeah, and so I plan to start going to more of those meetings once the groups start talking about the prioritizing. That's their goal, to
Mm-hmm.
prioritize all these plans that they already sort of have in mind or in other plans, and yeah, so I plan on watching that.
And if I remember correctly, it sounds like a lot of this planning and economic development and initiatives will be funded by the 1% local option tax.
Yeah, I think yeah, I think that's safe to say. Some of the funding will come in there, but I think a large part of it is going out and looking for matching funds from grants.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the idea is to use some of the 1% money. They have more than 1 million right now, and they have their own local programs, grant programs to offer businesses and merchants and all.
Right.
But I think they're looking at some of the bigger projects too.
Well, best of luck to Honora. And now, just out of curiosity, is Honora the company that also bought in Wilmington, the barn next to the flea market?
Yes, and that's another part of my story. They're still figuring out what to do. There's a sewer line they need to
Oh,
connect
okay.
to, and it would be really expensive. But the medical center there, Southwestern Vermont Medical Center, their Deerfield Valley campus,
Mm-hmm.
they're expanding. They're building they're expanding their footprint there.
Okay.
They're taking over the old Deerfield Valley Rescue property right next to
Wow.
it. So in the process, I think Honora is trying to figure out if they can, connect with that project and see if maybe they could share some of the costs of doing whatever build out is necessary.
That would be quite an expansion in that area. Yeah.
Yeah. So they haven't given up on that project yet, and I know that people are watching that because that's a huge building in Wilmington.
Well, it's huge, it's very visible, but it's also really beautiful.
Right.
And so it's kind of sad to see it not being used.
Yeah, and so they would do their they would move their brewing operations there,
Okay.
and they'd have more capacity. And they were also talking about doing some retail and brew pub there. So it would be, this really big thing eventually.
Looking forward to hearing how all those economic development plans come together. Now, another big Deerfield Valley topic, as everyone knows, is the Hermitage. What's happening there? Any updates?
Yeah, so I talked with the president last week of the company. He's been sending emails to the club members, and he's basically saying we're on track to open in December, which is, a little different.
Fantastic.
It's fantastic, and it's also a little different than, what some people are expecting
Mm-hmm.
because of the status of the properties. They haven't been open in months, and that's kind of it's difficult at a ski resort because you have to keep up with these lifts. You have to keep them maintained and
Yeah.
running and inspected. So this week, he told me we're really trying to get this open,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a $30 million loan that's in the process. They're in this process of closing on.
Okay.
They've taken. There was another group I've talked about with you before called Oz Real Estate,
Yes.
and they were supposed to do an investment in the company, and that's sort of taking a back seat for right now.
Mm-hmm.
The last email to members said, "Hey, we're going to focus on closing on this loan and getting the mountain open for the winter, and then we're going to be talking with Oz about opening some of the other properties and building the hotel that they're planning next to the mountain."
Okay.
And so that stuff's exciting. And then, next week it's kind of on this, it's in the background. What's happening is on Monday, you got a development review board meeting in Wilmington,
Ah.
and they're asking for an extension of the local permit for the hotel. And so this would be the third extension, which that would be setting a new precedent in town. So I'm not sure if that's going to happen.
Now, if they don't get the extension, does that mean they have to reapply for the permit?
Yeah, they'll have to go through the whole process again, which could be difficult because an ordinance changed,
Mm-hmm.
so heights that were previously allowed are no longer allowed, so they might have to plan for something smaller.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So that would have definite implications on their plans.
Yeah, and the DRB previously granted a 1-year extension. They said, "We understand you guys had financial troubles, so we're going to give you this another year." They could have given a 2-year extension, but they only did a 1 year because they said, "Hey, this ordinance has changed."
Right, right.
So, yeah, I'm interested to see what will happen on Monday, and then Tuesday they're going to be finishing up some of the details on that auction with the inn at Sawmill Farm.
Okay.
And then I think it's on Thursday they're dealing with in the same court they're going to be dealing with this group out of Colorado being represented by some local attorneys in Brattleboro. And they say that, hey, that you guys owe us for $130,000 worth of consulting services. Their group that specializes in hospitality, the hospitality industry. So next week is going to be really busy for me on the Hermitage beat.
Have you heard from any of the club members? I mean, this must be strange or frustrating for them.
Yeah, I think I think there's a little bit of frustration because they keep alluding to this secondary lender, and they're not naming the lender, but they're saying that it's, it'll be a good thing for the club. But there are also the latest email says that they have to they're going to have to be talking about annual dues, and that's going to be coming up in the discussion again too, because last time we heard about it, they were considering an increase. I forget the numbers offhand, but it would have been a significant increase for the members, and not all of them were on board for it.
Right.
But now with Oz out of the picture, I don't know if that will restart conversations on dues and what will be what, but I'll be watching those emails.
Okay. Hey, here is Natalie Knowles. Chris and I will return after the break. This is Green Mountain Mornings. Welcome to my guest, Chris Mays from The Reformer. So glad you have hung out with me this morning. How are you doing, Chris?
I'm doing well. How about you? I'm
doing okay. We keep finding things to talk about because this is a hip happening kind of community.
Yeah. I'm never at a loss for stories, I guess you would say.
This is true. If you were, I would be concerned.
Yeah.
Speaking of never at a loss, the 7-Eleven in town, is it closing?
Yeah, it is. It's been closed for a little while now. It's been boarded up, which made the zoning administrator comment to me. It's looking really abandoned. And so yesterday that changed a little bit because some people came in to remove the 3 gas tanks that were there, the gas pumps.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that was a little controversial too, because so 7-Eleven, the corporation, managed that property.
Right.
Previously, it was a franchise operator did it, but in recent years, it's been run by the corporation. But the building has been owned by a group based in California.
Okay.
Which I had no luck getting in touch with anyone from there. They're an LLC, and it was just really, I tried calling all these random numbers in California listed for the guy, but
nothing happened.
All 3 of the numbers said this number has been disconnected. But anyway, so someone from that LLC called the planning office, the town planning department in Brattleboro, and they were concerned about the gas pumps being removed without their permission. And so I talked with the state, Agency of Natural Resources, and they said, we deal with the pump owners. And so there wasn't really any talk with the building owner.
Okay.
And they made all these plans and got everything, ready to go. And one of the requirements from the state is to have an environmental consultant on site to make sure everything looks okay, to make sure there's no leakage or spillage that we should be concerned about. And so that's expected to wrap up as soon as Wednesday.
Okay.
And for now, there are no plans for the building as far as the planning department is aware. So if the building's going to be used for retail again, it probably won't have to go before the DRB.
Okay.
And the state said that that where the gas pumps are shouldn't cause, if someone wanted to develop on that area, they would be able to, unless there was some big issue that's uncovered when they're removing the tanks. But he said they went in 1994, and they were repiped in 2009.
Okay.
And during their inspections, there was nothing big. He went through the records over the phone with me. So
good. Now, it does seem. Did you get any warning that this 7-Eleven corporation was going to close this store?
No, and I sent an email. I still hadn't heard anything back today. I sent an email to the corporate office, and nobody responded. the zoning administrator said it seems like they just left and without a
Left in the middle of the night, and that was it.
yeah, but we've been hearing from people saying it's shut down and oddly enough, as soon as I started working on the story, that's when the gas pumps were being removed, so it turned into a bigger story than, hey, this building's boarded up now.
Right, right. Um, and so that's it. That's kind of what we know at this point.
Yeah.
Huh.
Hopefully someone comes in and takes over because that seems like a pretty good corridor of business.
It always seemed kind of hip happening whenever I went by. Of
Yeah.
course, obviously, I haven't been by lately because I didn't realize it'd been boarded up.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna miss the sign they had out front. It said this is the last 7-Eleven for 20 something
Yeah.
miles, and then I'm like, oh well, that's how long I have to go to home because that's where the next
Yeah.
7-Eleven is. I always found that kind of funny. I don't know.
The last one for 20 miles.
Like
Unless you're going to Dover.
and there's no, there's a few other convenience stores on the way to the next
Mm-hmm.
7-Eleven, but
But 7-Eleven is its own brand.
that is true. They do have unique pizza
Mm-hmm.
and some other types of foods.
Will you miss those? Oh, but you can still get them in Dover, so you're fine.
Yeah,
If you're jonesing for some unique 7-Eleven and pizza, you're good.
yeah. I have one of my friends always jokes and says their pizza is actually pretty good because he would always get it after snowboarding.
It's the perfect snowboarding treat. Now, last weekend, Turning Point held its first annual, what is hoped to be one of many annual Run for Recoveries. Were you able to attend?
Yeah, I was. It was really well attended. They were expecting about 60 participants a couple of weeks before,
Mm-hmm.
and they ended up getting 83.
Hey, fantastic.
Yeah, so that kind of messed with the results because they were kind of working quickly to get everything organized, and they eventually worked it out. But they said they learned a little bit
Mm-hmm.
about how these events are run for next time. But the executive director said it was what a wonderful day, she said. And I talked with some other people who were there. Sergeant Petlock, he was running, and he's part of Project Care.
Yes.
The effort to work with people who are suffering from drug and substance use issues.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was there, and some other people from the community were there, and it was a really nice day and really sunny and comfortable, the temperatures for
Yeah.
running.
And did you have a chance to? So the results got a little,
There was
you
a
said messed with.
there was a little confusion. I guess they had the lists of names a little off. There was a
Okay.
man in a woman's category by accident, and
Oh,
it
okay.
was just an administrative error.
Yeah, learning curves,
Yeah.
growing pains.
Yeah, but they were really happy with how it turned out, and I heard other people telling them what a great 5K it was because afterward people were just they had space to hang out and eat food, and they had this big whiteboard where people were writing down what they learned about recovery that day or how they could support people in
Nice.
recovery. This was done as something in recognition of National Recovery Month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was talking with Susie Walker yesterday about a different topic, and what it dawned on me, and one reason I kind of have newfound respect for Turning Point is they really there's so much about addiction that unless you've been through it you don't understand, and about recovery that unless you've been through it you don't understand. But unfortunately, because of things like HIPAA and just cultural norms, there's a lot of conversations in the community that happen behind closed doors because they have to. Like the retreat is a great source, but a lot of what they do is behind closed doors because of HIPAA and privacy laws and all those things. where Turning Point is very much out in the community and taking down some of those barriers or stigma that we often talk about, and I think this run is another great example of that.
Yeah, when I wrote a story to preview the event, I talked with the organizer who he had his own issues with addiction, and he talked about how he was in recovery for a few years, and he was having some issues, family issues, and he it dawned on him, hey, I'm going to start to run, maybe I'll feel better. And ever
Mhm.
since, now he looks at exercise as part of his recovery, from drug use, and he thinks like this is such a healthy thing for me to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that I'm so glad they had this success, because I'm hoping that it will lead to future runs and other events.
Yeah,